¿Qué tal amigos? ¿Cómo están? Bienvenidos. El día de hoy tenemos una gran conversación. Estamos con uno de los cofundadores de 𝗕𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, que es una liga de peleas. Ahorita vamos a explicar específicamente cómo es, estilo UFC, que han agregado un factor de tokenización a este proyecto y está sumamente interesante. Y bueno, vamos a platicar porque se vienen eventos y de hecho se viene uno en la Ciudad de México. Hello guys, welcome. Today we have a really special guest. We have Only Larping. He's one of the co-founders of the Karate Combat League, a really cool up and coming league, fighting league. I would say that it's similar to UFC, but now you will explain it to us. And it also has like a tokenization part of the project. They have their own token, so it's really interesting. I've seen it around in the social media space already, so I have a lot of questions to ask you. But first of all, how are you doing today? Maybe
Good.
you can tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much. So I'm one of the co-founders of Karate Combat. Um, Historically, I was the largest investor in the league. But since we've been working on this Web3 platform for the last couple years, I've spent, a lot of my time on that, most of my time. I've been in the crypto space going back over a decade now. And this is the most exciting crypto thing I've ever worked on, frankly.
Amazing. No, I definitely think it's super interesting. I haven't seen anything similar, and I'm really excited for what's the potential in this kind of market that you're going into. So maybe you can tell us, first of all, a simple way, how can you explain what's karate combat?
Yeah, great. So first of all, Karate Combat is a real world sports league. The rule set is essentially the UFC without the wrestling, without the jiu-jitsu, without the grappling on the ground. The biggest complaint that you get from casual fight fans when they watch the UFC is the time on the mat. If you don't understand the mind game that is jiu-jitsu, you might get bored when they're locked up on the ground against the cage. We take that out. It's a striking league, so punching, kicking, some throws, a little bit of ground and pound, but without the grappling on the ground. The rounds are also shorter. The scoring favors aggression, and so all in, you get tons of knockouts. We also hold our events in this crazy sunken pit, which fighters really love. That's the league side of it. It's been going on for about 7 years. We've had 44 events to date. We've got about 100 fighters on exclusive 2 to 4 year contracts. The events are distributed around the world on television, digital, you name it. We've got about 5-6 million followers on social media, get a couple of 100 million organic views on the internet every month. Probably one of the most recognizable things about Karate Combat is the production. We try and make every event look like a real life version of Mortal Kombat. So if you watch it, most of our events, behind the audience, you see this 3D world that we create live using really precise camera tracking and game engines. So our event in December in Vegas was held, quote unquote, on the moon. And so you saw these 2,000 people watching these crazy fights, and beyond them was this 3D VFX version of moon landing. We also hold events in kind of crazy real world locations. No matter, like our last event, we did a contender event, so a smaller event, but in our president's mom's backyard. So it's like this mansion in Florida with 1,500 people there watching a series of fights.
That sounds very, very fun. I want to ask you more about the events, but first, maybe I want to go back in time and maybe you can tell us about how the idea was born for Karate Combat.
Yeah, so my best buddy from school, he started the league, and I essentially backed him. And the idea was twofold. My main concept behind it was which we ended up building is to really build a league for the next generation of fans. So younger people watch sports very differently. They watch on their phone. Frankly, most of them just watch highlights on social media. They're not even watching full events. They're much more likely to gamble on sports than older generations. And so we wanted to build a league across every vector that appealed to them, from distribution to production, to the rule set. You know, we really took karate's like 5 different disciplines. We mixed and matched the rules that would be the most entertaining for the public. And then on the Web3 side, really leaning in into the financialization of things that, you know, younger audiences really dig.
How's the timeline look like? When was this the first like official event, the first fight?
Yeah, I think the first official event was a basically a pilot that we shot in Budapest in either at the end of 2017 or very early 2018. And that went very well. It went viral. Karate has never had like a full contact professional organization. And it really got a ton of reception. And then we did about 1 year of traveling around to exotic locations. And by the way, all these events are available for free on our own website, karate.com, or on our YouTube page. So yeah, we started off with about a year of holding events in exotic locations. For instance, the top of the Freedom Tower in New York City, you know, 120 floors up, Miami waterfront. We did one in Athens, and it worked really well, but it wasn't super scalable for a young organization. So we took a step back to evaluate things and decided we wanted to try and film events in front of 3D VFX backgrounds as a more scalable solution to create these really vibrant fighting environments. And it worked. And for about 3 years, we held events in Budapest, back in Budapest, in one of the largest film studios in the world, and built the league up actually live to tape. So for a few years, the league's events were non-live, shooting in front of all these crazy VFX environments. And then I'd say about a year and a half ago, we took the events live without sacrificing the VFX backgrounds. So for about a year and a half now, we've been live.
Nice. That's really cool. And what can you tell us about the live events? How often do they happen?
So right now we're on track to do almost one a month. We should have, you know, at least 10 events in 2024. Our second event is coming up on February 23rd down in Mexico City. But we'll be all over the world this year.
Amazing. And what kind of fighters can people expect? Because I know there's some maybe crypto influencer fight going on, but
yes,
so we have different rankings, right?
Yeah, so we're experimenting with a couple things. So we've got the core Karate Combat League with events about monthly, and these are striking events amongst the best strikers in the world, ex-UFC, ex-Bellator, guys that have come up with us since the beginning. And, you know, usually we have about 8 to 10 pure Karate Combat fights per event every month. And but we are experimenting with a couple things. We just started having a couple grappling matches per event at our last event. We've actually got Craig Jones coming down on February 23rd. He's arguably one of the best grapplers in the world, and this, you know, really has a cult following. So we'll have a couple grappling matches before the main Karate Combat fights. And then we're also experimenting with Web3 influencer fights because of our like huge push into crypto. we think it makes sense to really, embrace the community by letting some of them fight each other. So on February 23rd, we've got 2 grappling matches, 8 karate combat fights, and then 5 Web3 influencer fights. The Web3 influencer fights are headlined by Ben Armstrong, formerly known as BitBoy. He's fighting the lead developer of a huge meme coin, ticker Bitcoin, Harry Potter, Obama, Sonic 10, Inu.
Nice. That sounds really fun. When we're talking about the more professional athletes in the league, how do they get chosen to fight? How do they qualify? Is there different weights? How does it get divided into?
Yeah, so there's 6 male weight classes and 2 female weight classes. And I'm not really the fighting guy. I'm definitely not the fighting guy, so I wouldn't be the person to really speak on that. But primarily comes down to fighting ability, striking ability. So these are usually people who specialize in punching and kicking as opposed to grappling, and marketability. It's super important that the fighter has the capacity and the drive to market the fights on their own.
All right, all right. So they have to have some reputation, some audience behind them.
Or just talent for it. They
Talent.
may be really young, maybe they don't have a following yet, but you can tell they want one.
All right, all right. And is there prizes?
Oh, of course, yeah. The fighters all get paid. These guys are on 2 to 4 year contracts, so they all get paid, based on their cash contracts. In addition, when we talk about the Web3 side of things, as a bonus, they also get part of the token rewards we do on every event.
Nice. And heading a little bit more into that path of Web3, how does Web3 integration look like around karate combat? What elements, Web3 elements we can find in the project?
Yeah, so it's extraordinarily deep, probably 3 times as deep as anything else you would find in sports. For the first time ever, you have a sports league that's governed and gamified by crypto. So the core idea was to create no loss gambling on every fight. It's really a DeFi idea at its base. So for 48 hours before each event, holders of the karate token can vote on which fighters they think are going to win. If they vote on winning fighters, they earn a little bit more tokens. If they vote on losing fighters, nothing happens. So unlike regular gambling, you're not losing your tokens if you pick the wrong fighters. But the hope is that with a little bit of financial upside on the events, the fans will research the fighters in advance, their names, their styles, their backgrounds, their records, their families. So they really have a vested emotional connection with the athletes. And then when the event comes, maybe if they didn't even learn their names yet, they still really care about who wins because they have a little bit of money riding on it. To do all this, to build this game, we had to radically transform the league. We sold the entire league, everything, to an ownerless foundation. We structured the foundation such that the directors of the foundation agree to take direction from the token holders about most things. Um, and yeah, we we really went all the way with it. More recently, we've been diving into what people in crypto call token gated experiences. Since there's no owners of the league, and traditionally, sports properties are often purchased for the perks that come with it. The courtside seats, the name in the New York Post, the access to the athletes, all that type of stuff should flow to the token holders. So we're really working hard on building out what we'll probably call the member benefits of the league that flow to our top players.
Nice. So you would say you could divide the token elements into 2 things. The first is that you have like governance control into some of the things this entity does, and the other side is for the betting platform, the no loss bets.
Yeah, I would divide it into kind of three things. Yeah, the no loss betting is why we built it, because we think it's something that both crypto people and sports fans will love. And they appear to love it because it's growing really fast. So that's the first thing. That's why we did it. The second thing is the governance, and that's so that the token actually, means something. It's not just a meme coin. And then the third, the member benefits, which we think are super important as well. Um, all the perks that normally go to an owner of a sports league should go to the token holders here.
Nice. So could you say that in a future timeline, maybe if there's some revenue generation could be deployed into the token holders, maybe, or
Yeah,
not
so
that deep into it?
yeah, so I think this is there's a few different topics here. Number one, there's like, I don't know, 100,000 cryptocurrencies. Most of them are marketing themselves on like future revenue or buyback and burns or all this stuff that's going to happen when the Web3 platform is massive and it takes over the world. Um, and that's like how most cryptos are marketed. We think we have this really unique um, advantage here to early on push all these perks that normally go to the owners of sports league back to the token holders. So that's what we're sort of focused on early on. Over time, I can see the token holders pushing for things such as the additional utility for the token, right? The utility to sponsor the league with karate tokens, the ability to pay for pay-per-view fights with karate tokens, the ability to buy tickets with karate tokens. And over time, I think you can kind of get to, a similar place. But at the outset, I think our big competitive advantage is really on something that's just like much more fun, engaging, and experiential than anything out there in crypto. Crypto is really a retail market. Historically, like something like 110 of the top 140 sports properties are owned by billionaires. Um, we think that there should be a crypto sports league where the token holders get the same perks that are normally reserved for billionaires.
Yeah, that's super interesting. What kind of maybe you can give us an idea of what kind of governance decisions had been uh executed in the past or recently, something like this?
Yeah, sure. And if you download our app, if you go to 𝗕𝗏𝗃.com/app, you'll automatically get 88 free tokens and can participate in league governance votes, and then also participate in up-only gaming in a couple weeks at KC44 and our influencer fights. There's a league tab in there, so I'm scrolling there now to see what all the votes we had so far. So the first vote we had back in at the end of June was actually to codify an additional round to the fights. One of the most boring things that happens in fighting is when the decision goes to the judges. There's no knockout or TKO. Karate Combat's one of the only sports leagues now that has an extra round. So if things are a draw or close to being a draw, we actually go to an extra round that was voted on by the token holders. The second proposal was to incentivize liquidity on Uniswap. The third one was to drop the gloves down from 6 ounces to 4 ounces, which is really, up the number of knockouts and TKOs. More recently, we had a vote on eliminating the 5-second ground and pound rule, which is a little bit esoteric. And then right now we have a vote live to roll over some unused up-only gaming rewards from the last event on a couple no contests. So, the votes so far, it looks like most of them have been around kind of the token and the league rules. But I think pretty soon we'll be having a vote on the member benefits for the upcoming year.
Amazing. And deep diving a little bit more into this no loss betting, first of all, it's executed through this app that you just mentioned. Is there also a web app, or it's just like a
Yes.
mobile phone app?
Yes. So we have a web app that you can use using any, compatible wallet, pretty much any wallet you have. And then we also have mobile apps on iOS and Android. It turns out that almost everybody is using the mobile apps that we built. 𝗕𝗏𝗿𝗏 is issued natively on two different networks. It's on Ethereum mainnet and Hedera, which is a large sponsor of the league. The web apps run on 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗏 on Ethereum and on Hedera, and the mobile apps run on 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 on Hedera. On the mobile apps, we cover all the fees. It's a really painless experience.
So, is there a karate chain also?
There's no 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 chain, at least not currently. There's no 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 chain.
Okay. And how does the no loss betting work? Like, where do the rewards come from? Is there inflation on the token? Is it from staking? Is it from the treasury?
So it is a little bit like gamified staking in a way.
Mhm.
You don't actually have to lock up or stake your tokens. You're just casting a vote using Snapshot. And then there's an on-chain claim for your winnings. But no, currently there's no inflation. So we put 3 years of rewards for the contests on the balance sheet of the foundation. So for the next 2.5 years, it's all paid out from that pool. And then after that time period, the token holders will have to decide, do they like the game in its current fashion and want to continue it by issuing some more tokens? Do they want to change how the game works? Maybe make it a little bit more like regular gambling. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so you can do, so you could say everything that you can do with karate token, you can do it through this app, like governance,
Yep.
betting, and is there any other functions in this app?
Yes. So there's a non-custodial wallet, which sort of anchors it all. If you download the app, you'll be prompted to back up your seed phrase to your iCloud keychain with the click of a button. Automatically get 88 tokens for free for downloading it. It has notifications, so you'll be notified when the time comes up to cast your votes on your players. As I mentioned, it also has league governance and announcements. There's a fiat on-ramp in there from C14, so you could use your credit card to buy tokens for most places. There's a decentralized exchange, so that you could deposit 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 and easily swap into 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. And then there's also league rankings. And the league rankings have been what we've been using to dole out member benefits.
Nice. Would you say that Karate Combat was made for a Web 2 audience, like traditional internet people, or is it more focused into Web 3 community?
So the goal was to make it easy enough to use for ordinary sports fans that haven't been exposed to crypto. And I think we did a good job of that. It really is quite simple to use the mobile apps. There's no pain points in there unless you need to or want to go buy additional tokens beyond the free amount upfront. Buying additional tokens, comes with the normal crypto pain points. But from a marketing perspective, we've been primarily marketing the app early on to crypto natives, just because it's easier. They understand the core concepts. But I think we do a pretty good job of marketing the apps to our existing fan base through the live events. So if you watch one of our last few events, you'll see Up Only Gaming integrated throughout it, talking about the prize pools, the number of voters, and all of that.
Great. So how do you see the future for Karate Combat? Like, when do you think, is there an inflection point where you're bringing this Web 2 audience more into these events or to the app?
Yeah, I mean, I think both sides kind of feed each other. Right now, the sports side of things is on a tremendous tear. We sort of had a big breakout event in December in Vegas, which got tons of new eyes on the league from more traditional MMA audiences. And so, the league itself, the sport is growing really fast. We're signing tons of really talented fighters, and the viewership is growing really quickly event to event. And then the Web3 side as well is also growing very quickly. We had about 27,000 people play at our last event a couple weeks ago. And, a lot of our effort on the software side right now is building referral programs, affiliate programs, member benefits to continue to onboard as many people as possible.
What would you say? Is there any competitors out there? Would you compare yourself more to UFC, or is there anything similar?
So on the sports side of things, I think um, we have a good relationship with the UFC, and they don't view us as a direct competitor like PFL/Bellator or One Championship, um, or even LFA or Cage Warriors. These guys are really competing directly for talent with the UFC. On the PFL side, going out and trying to steal away their best fighters with massive paychecks. Um, Whereas we're really pulling from a different pool of fighters, primarily strikers who would have a hard time winning and keeping a belt in the UFC. Um, but for sure, we definitely compete with all these other fighting leagues for audiences on the weekends that we're around. Um, on the crypto side of things, I'd say we basically have no competitors at this point. There are no other sports leagues that are governed and gamified by a token. I think sports are an incredible fit for Web3 just based on the numbers. Some of the most successful non-exchange, so non-token exchange, non-NFT exchange consumer products are sports based. So Rare, arguably the most successful consumer crypto app outside of exchange. NFT Top Shots arguably kicked off the NFT bubble over COVID. Um, Socios has put together a very successful fan token platform. You see uh, crypto exchanges spending lots of money on sponsoring sporting events. Um, I think some of it is the demographics. Both young young males around the world. But then also, I think sports have a big advantage in crypto with cadence. So um, a DeFi app or even a GameFi project, they're at most going to have an update, something big going on a couple times a year. Whereas at Karate Combat, we have an event basically every month. So there's always something around the corner to talk about, to look forward to. And I think that's really important in the crypto market where most participants are retail and at the end of the day, trying to have fun and make a little money.
Yeah, 100%. What you said earlier, it's really true that I also sometimes bet in some sport events, and it's, at least for me, it's way more fun because you get emotionally attached on
A
the
hundred
risk
percent, a
taken.
hundred percent. And if you poll males your age, almost half of them will say that they don't like watching sports unless they have a bet on it.
Yeah.
Um, and so if you can get all your fans a little financial upside on every fight, you're in a very good position. And that was our goal. You're not doubling or tripling your money when you play up only gaming, but we think it's enough financial upside to get you to really care about the outcome.
Mhm. Yeah, that's ups the fun, definitely. What about how does do you have any partnerships, interesting partnerships you can tell us about, either on the crypto side, sports side, media side?
Sure. I mean, on the crypto side, we're very interested in partnerships. We think it's one of the best paths for Web3 marketing. Um, so, from the beginning, we've been running this really fun contest with the Kanpai Pandas. We actually run like a contest within a contest. All their NFT holders compete against each other for a pretty big pool of rewards. More recently, we've been partnering up with some GameFi projects. At our December event, we did a big activation with Parallel. We actually included a bunch of Parallel assets in the 3D VFX background and showed a trailer for the game in the background. We've been doing some partnerships with DeFi Kingdoms. We've got a big partnership with Brave, the browser. I think if you open up a Brave browser right now, a decent chance you'll be served with a full page Karate Combat ad. They're also a sponsor of the league. We are sponsored by the 𝗕𝗏𝗃𝗏 Foundation, which is 𝗟𝗲𝗱𝗏𝗿𝗏𝗍 Foundation, the foundation that gives out grants and sponsorships on that side. We have a bunch more stuff coming up, not announced. Some of it like on the conference side of things. We're very interested in bringing Karate Combat events to Web3 conferences. On the sports side of things, it's more traditional. So we've got distribution through some of the biggest sports channels in the world. You know, we're on Eurosport in Europe. We're on Globo's Combate channel down in Brazil. We're on BN Sports in much of Asia. We are very friendly with and work with many of the top fighters in the world. They always come to our events. They absolutely love the Karate Combat Pit.
Nice. I think I've seen a few. I think many celebrities in some of the Karate Combat events. I thought I saw Rick Ross maybe, and
Yeah. So Rick Ross presented our last event. Yeah, so we held this contender event 2 weeks ago. The idea was start the year off, get new blood into the league, and experiment to see if we can find like a lower budget format outside of our numbered events. We, being Karate Combat, we couldn't do anything easy. We came up with this very funny idea to put the Karate Combat Pit in our president's mom's backyard and to style it as a house party. So it was Karate Combat Kickback 1 at Awesome's mom's house, and it was presented by Rick Ross. Rick Ross was the presenter. He sat in this hilarious huge chair the whole time, had a really fun time. But yeah, there's always celebrities and famous fighters at our events. It's a really, really fun live experience. You're very close to the fights. You have this great sight line with no cage in the middle. It feels like an underground fight club.
That sounds amazing. Can't wait to go to my first. How those people? How can you get access to these events?
Yeah. So normally we have tickets up for sale for a couple weeks before the event. For Mexico City, we'll have tickets available shortly. Would love to find a way to get your community there that happens to be in Mexico City. But you can always go to karate.com and see what's going on.
And I actually wanted to ask you about that. How hard was it to get karate.com? Because that's an amazing domain, I think.
Yeah, I think the original story. So I've had it for 7-8 years now. I think basically Rob's brother emailed the owner and said, "Hey, I want to sell like t-shirts on this domain. Can we buy it from you?" And ended up getting an amazing price on it. I think yeah, we got lucky with it.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Just like a sushi shop getting sushi. So
Yes.
that's really very well positioned right there. How about the team? Is the whole team based in the United States, or where are you guys from? And maybe where's the foundation as well located?
Yeah. So the foundation's based in the Cayman Islands with subsidiaries throughout the world. For IP and for the token entity and all that. The team that works on the league for various suppliers and for the foundation is spread out around the world. There are a number of us in the US, but also large groups in Latin America and Europe.
Nice.
And then our fighters are from all over the world. The biggest fighter base is the US, But close second is Brazil, and then from all over the place. So I think only about 30% of our fighters are from the US.
Nice. How do you see the future? Because I've seen, like, for example, there's been amazing growth with like sports leagues team, maybe around the world, a lot in the US, like from soccer to fighting to basketball. Why do you think that is, and how can maybe karate combat capture some of this value?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to speak to other sports which are also growing really fast. I think fighting is one of the fastest categories, if not the fastest, and I think most of that's down to mobile social. Um, on the small screen, it's very easy to understand what's going on in a fight, even if you don't know the rules or the fighters. It naturally goes viral on social media. I think the format just fits mobile really, really well, which was definitely one of our original theses, and it's played out. Um, and you also saw this huge bump with the UFC and other fight leagues over COVID. Um, I think it's going to continue.
Yeah, yeah. This kind of entertainment seems like a really interesting market for sure. And do you maybe see yourself in the future as maybe some integrations with some DeFi projects? Uh, do you see it going beyond the fighting and the sports, more in the tech side? Do you see any growth?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So what we did initially, we've got this very open policy, and ethos. So we've already sort of open sourced our IP to an extent. We created this incredibly permissive license initially in the categories of NFTs and video games to allow anybody that wants to integrate our IP into their own games and NFT projects. We've got one game that's almost finished within a released NFT project called 𝗕𝗏𝗿𝗿.io. That's a completely independent project that released an NFT set on Karate Combat's IP and is building a fantasy game around it. On the DeFi side of things, I think it takes time to build up a community of developers, but we want people building things on top of Up Only Gaming for sure. It's very extensible. For instance, one easy example. So Karate Combat, it's the only league in the world where the athletes actually have some on-chain earnings. So 10% of the prize pools awarded in Up Only Gaming go to the fighters. And so you actually have real on-chain earnings for fighters. That could be easily extended by a third party that wanted to release, in collaboration with the athletes, NFTs or fighter tokens, with real earning streams attached to them. Also, people could probably pretty easily build a passive vault for Up Only Gaming to manage play for people who are kind of too lazy to make their picks. We ourselves are building delegation for Karate Combat's Up Only Gaming, so that KOLs and influencers that want to go out and promote Up Only Gaming can make picks for other people. So I do think the name of the game over the medium term is to attract developers to build cool applications.
All right. And maybe I got a little bit mixed. How can you separate Karate Combat with Up Only Gaming? Can you explain the
Yeah,
connection
so
there?
yeah, Up Only Gaming is what we branded game we built on top of Karate Combat. So that is the game where you can play through the app or the web app and vote on which fighters you think are going to win, earn it if you predict correctly.
And the league is Karate Combat. Okay.
Yeah.
I know many people who are big fans of Hedera hash grab. So can you explain to us maybe more specifically in what parts of the project is Hedera involved?
Yep, easily. So first of all, The most notable thing, you'll see the Hedera logo at the center of the Karate Combat pit. They're one of the largest sponsors of the league. And the Karate token itself is issued natively on Hedera and on Ethereum mainnet. And we built the mobile apps exclusively on Karate on Hedera. So when you download the app, you'll automatically get a Hedera wallet with a little bit of 𝗕𝗄𝗏 and 88 Karate tokens. And after that, we built a small decentralized exchange so you can deposit 𝗕𝗄𝗏 and swap for Karate.
Amazing. That's super cool. So you're bringing users to the Hedera blockchain.
Definitely.
That's great. That's super interesting. And well, I don't know if you have anything else that you can give us, maybe some alpha or some information that you may take it as very relevant to tell us.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd be remiss not to reiterate that we'll be in Mexico City on February 23rd with KC44 and our Web3 influencer fights. And then this hasn't been publicly stated, but we're planning to do an event in Mexico, likely in Cancun in March. So we're trying to do 2 events in a row in Mexico, and we'd love to see as many of your fans and followers there.
Amazing. No, definitely. I will definitely be there. I don't want to miss this experience. It seems really fun, and yeah, we'll be following really closely. I appreciate your time. I wish you the best of luck, and we'll be in a fight soon, and I'll share my experience. I like to do like blogs sometime, and definitely this will be something to show the people. And I really appreciate your time. I'm looking forward to being that fight in Mexico City. We'll definitely be showing the community all about the events. Hopefully we're gonna probably invite some of them to the event as well.
Definitely. Bring them out.
I'll be talking to you so we can have some updates on karate in the future. I appreciate it.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.